So yeah, just before, well, there's a lot of talking going on. There's a lot of people there at the time when she was going to be burnt. Her body's going to be burnt, and in hot countries like that, they have the cheap coffin. Unless you're rich, they have a cheap coffin inside a freezer. They freeze the body. So the only time I could get to see the girl I loved was just before they threw her in the fire. And the coffin is outside the oven, which is already lit and heating up. And you can see the flames because the door's open. And I did talk to the man before, and I paid him some money, the one who was in charge of putting her in, to pull out some hair. And I had a girl who spoke English, so she could tell him exactly what I wanted. So I gave him some money, and then he didn't really understand, because he knew I wanted the end of the hair. So he just grabbed quite a lot of hair and pulled it, tugged. Of course, this body the head just came up. And he couldn't get it out, of course, and he had another tug, and it's quite horrifying. And I jumped back. As soon as they took the lid off the coffin, I jumped back because I thought, what is that thing? That's not my girlfriend. Because you can feel when you look at a dead body, well, I can anyway, that whatever was in there, what you loved, is gone. It's just an empty husk when they're dead. And also the eyes, even though they were shut, they sink in on a dead person. They go back in, and then so it looks like they got no eyes underneath the shut lids. Anyway, there was this small crowd around, and some of them were small kids. One of them was a girl, probably about 6 or 7 years of age. She was looking over the coffin. I was standing right back in fear because, as I said, it didn't look like my girlfriend. I could see the scar where they cut her right down there, and they probably cut her open completely, but they had to make sure that the boyfriend didn't kill her, you see, so they have to open it up to have a look. And just a reminder, if you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you. So he did manage to eventually get a few hairs out with the root. That's what I wanted, the root, with the DNA. It makes no sense, these idiots. As I said, people are followers, and it makes absolutely no sense at all when you burn a body to cinders and then you get the ashes and put them in a jar. There's nothing there. It's just really ashes. You killed everything, destroyed everything which was a connection to that body. So forget it. It's just nonsense. But if you take hair, even without the root, if you take some hair, a lock of hair, and you put it in a frame or something, that's more reasonable to say that was my girlfriend, that was my loved one. That lock of hair over there. But I had more. I had the DNA in the few hairs I have. You're sort of just hanging on. You don't want to let go of something that is so important to you. And that, for me, those few hairs with the DNA at the end in the roots is the way I'm holding on to her, which is ridiculous, but But I noticed the kids next to me, who were in front of me actually, looking over into the coffin, because they were quite small, these kids, they were smiling, because if you're brought up in a situation where you see dead bodies like that, you're not afraid, no one fears a dead body, and then of course you're not going to fear a dead body. We tend to, our behaviour comes from the way people behave when we're young. And that's why these kids didn't fear, and I did fear, because it was the second time I've seen a dead body. Before I saw one, it was a man, and I went into a mortuary to see someone about something, and I happened to see this man, but he looked like he was sleeping. But when you see a loved one, it's totally different. And when you see that their face is all swollen up and you see where they've cut, it makes a big difference. It's a greater impact on you. But again, you can get used to anything. And that's why I disagree with this nonsense when we watch YouTube and things like that, and they say, and they cover things up so you can't see them, they blur it out. And they also say at the beginning, are you sure you want to watch this? And it's a certain age group that can watch it and things like that. This is nonsense. You know, we quite often make different laws for kids, and we, especially when it comes to violence. But kids, not all kids, of course, but quite a lot of these kids, even though they are a minority, they are a lot. They are violent, and they do think bad things. And I don't like the way we associate innocence with kids. It's not true. It really isn't. Kids aren't innocent. I wasn't innocent as a child. You could say I'm innocent now because I see things totally different. And I regret so many things which, the way I thought as a child. Now I'm innocent, but not then. I was guilty as hell. But stop being followers. Try and think for yourself. Look around you and question things. The fact is, if you read my books, which is The Glorified Ape and Human or Demon, they're ebooks by Thomas Valentine, that's me, Thomas R. Valentine, you will find that I've said that 99% of you who die will be going to hell. Now, hell is simply being reborn as another creature. Let me ask you this. Before you was born now as a human, what made you choose to be who you are? Now, that's a rhetorical question because I know the answer. You didn't choose. You couldn't choose. It wasn't up to you, the choice. And that's the truth. No one who is born, whatever they are, whether they're human or a dog or any other creature, none of them chose to be who they are. And just remember this, even though you go on about you being such a great person because you are human and maybe you're even rich, maybe you're like Elon Musk and you've got billions and you're the richest person in the world. As soon as you die, you've lost it all. You can't take anything of that with you to death. 99% of the people, when they die, will come back as other creatures. That's the hell, what we're talking about, because you know what we do with other creatures as humans. We don't give a damn about their suffering. Now, that's not the worst of it. I said 99, so you've got 1% left. Now, 99 of the 1% also is going to hell. You can judge a person if they, whether they're going to hell or not, to a degree, yeah, you can judge. Do they respect all life forms? You see, with me, it's a question of I will not allow any other creature to suffer what I'm not willing to suffer in their stead. In other words, if I was them, would I want to suffer what I'm wanting them to suffer? And I wouldn't. So I'm against factory farming and slaughterhouses and vivisection. And when you give money to charity to help for cancer or something like that, you're actually giving to a company which is going to torture these creatures to death. Torture them to death. And you are responsible for their torture, and you are adding more and more karma. Karma does exist. Religion is crap, but karma does exist. You have to read my book to get all the information. I've had a lot of experiences, but I can't give you those experiences. I can tell you how to get similar experiences, but it's in the book. You have to read the books, okay? But believe you me, stop this crap where you say, I pray for you. Prayers do not work. We know this, and the greatest of proof is that when the last the last king of Thailand, who was loved by everyone, including me. I loved him as well. Wonderful man. When he died, before he died, for about 2 years or 3 years, he was ill in hospital, and everyone, the whole country prayed for him. Every day they prayed for him. Even the religious ones prayed for him, not just the normal people. And yet he only managed to outlive my mother about 18 months, I think, a year and a half he outlived my mother by. And they were born the same year, you see, as him and my mum. So prayers don't work. I knew it anyway, but that's absolute proof they don't work. Now, also, I hear often, rest in peace. Always rest in peace. No one rests in peace. They're all being reborn as other creatures to suffer hell on earth at the hands of humans. They don't rest in peace, no one. And when I talk about you being reborn as other creatures, I'm talking about you being reborn over thousands upon thousands of years, maybe 500,000 years, I don't know. But it's a hell of a long time. Not only, if you eat a beef burger, let's say, there might be 30 different creatures in that beef burger. Not only do you have to suffer their death and the fear at that moment of being butchered to death, you've got to suffer their life of maybe 2 or 3 months in a cage. Or if you are born as a chicken, you're going to be stuck in that cage for maybe several years before you are slaughtered because you can't give any more eggs. Or maybe you're going to come back in one of your lives. I'm just talking about one life here. And then you're going to have more in the next life and the next and the next, for the next thousands, 2,000, 100,000, maybe 500,000 years before you ever get a chance of being a human again. So if you are human, don't throw your life away. Don't take too many chances, especially with crime, where you're going to be locked up for years and years and years. You take advantage of the life you have as a human and really live it as much as you can to the full. That doesn't mean you've got to go in 5-star hotels or anything like that. These people aren't necessarily more happy than you just because they're that rich. Happiness comes from enjoying what you've got. And it doesn't take much to have a place like this. No. Start to do as I do. Treat all the animals. You see, even if you now, say you suddenly change, because you've seen this, you have this fear of going to hell, and you change, and you suddenly start following my way I live. So they become rules for the way you live. So you don't eat meat anymore, you're a vegetarian, and you don't give money to charities which are going to cause suffering to other creatures, like cancer research. All these researches, all research places are doing with animals. They're causing suffering to animals for vivisection. So if you're not going to do any of that, and you're going to sort of reflect my lifestyle, that doesn't really work. What you will do is stop adding to what you've been doing, all the bad things you've been doing. You'll stop adding to the years you're going to have to spend as suffering. But you still got to suffer what you've already done. I mean, justice screams for that. There's no hatred involved here. When karma does these things, it's done coolly, calmly. And what is karma? Karma is nothing to do with religion. Karma is to do solely with the matrix. It is a computer program made by the computer itself, the computer that I now call Susanna. Because, of course, a computer has no sex at all, but can become either sex. And if you haven't already realised what I'm talking about this being a matrix. But even if it wasn't a matrix, you should still be afraid of coming back as another creature, as I was in the past. Before I realised the matrix existed, I knew logically, reasonably, there was no reason why I'm not going to come back as another creature. And the chances are I am. If you throw the dice, it's not going to come up double 6 each time, is it? It's going to come up other numbers, which has nothing to do with humans being born as a human. So be fearful. No more of this crap about resting in peace. they don't rest in peace. If you want to do anything to help those loved ones who have died, force everyone to become a vegetarian and to treat all creatures with respect and love. And stop having so many babies. That's what's killing the world. There's too many of us on this planet. We've got to get the numbers down, so stop having babies. The trouble is, it's the worst ones, the idiots, the violent ones who have all the babies. This is the problem.